I call to order the September meeting of the Open Source Voting System Technical Advisory Committee of the San Francisco Elections Commission. Today is Thursday, September 13th, 2018, and the time is now 6:07 p.m. I'm the chair, Chris Drudonic. Secretary Chan, can you take the roll?
Chair Chris Drudonic.
Here.
Drudonic here. Member Carl Haig.
Here.
Haig here. Member Rowan Catal is absent. Member Tony Wasserman. Wasserman here. You have a quorum.
Okay, Member Katau has an excused absence today. He's traveling. And as we know from last time, we have a vacancy, which we'll say a little bit more about. Okay, next item.
Item 2, general public comment. Public comment on any issue within the committee's general jurisdiction that is not covered by another item on this agenda.
Okay, anyone? Seeing none, next item.
Item 3, approval of minutes of previous meetings. Discussion and possible action to approve minutes for the July 10th, 2018 and August 27th, 2018 committee meetings.
Okay, so we've got 2 draft minutes in the agenda packet. And my apologies for posting this kind of late. But, we don't have to approve them tonight if people haven't had a chance to review them. But,
I have a little change from the,
okay.
on the, give me a second.
Sure.
6. We were discussing,
This is in the second meeting? or-
this is in the August 27th, yes. In this, on page 5 of 6, where it says, Member Wasserman comment down the bottom. Member Wasserman commented that the name expert would be found in the Department of Elections because he wouldn't expect the project manager to necessarily know how the project is supposed to work. I would like to change that to say, to necessarily know the details of the voting process.
Okay. So instead of product process, it's okay. Member Hager, are you okay with?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
So I actually read them.
Just quick, briefly.
Good, yeah. It's good. It's a lot to read, believe it or not.
I didn't read it in core detail,
Yeah.
but I skimmed it out. You know, you always search for your own name. You say, you know, see that?
Okay, so I have previously reviewed both documents and I'm okay with them. So if anyone would like to make a motion, we can vote on them together.
Move that we approve the July and August minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay. Are there, well, with your change?
As amended.
Let's take public comment on this item. Seeing none. Further commissioner or committee member discussion before we take a vote? Seeing none, Secretary Chan?
Chair Drudonic.
Yes.
Drudonic, yes. Member Haig.
Yes.
Haig, yes. Member Wasserman.
Yes.
Wasserman, yes. Passes 3-0. Unanimous.
Okay, great. Next item.
Item 4, administration. Discussion and possible action regarding administrative issues, including but not limited to attendance at election commission meetings by committee members, the committee's website, and the committee's written reports to the commission.
Okay, so on this item, a few things. So number one, the application for the vacancy on our committee was posted, I believe, it was, I want to say Monday or Tuesday this week. And so that's now online and I think it's posted for a little bit over 2 weeks. And it would be great if anyone could help publicize the opening. And so that's that. And then, so a couple other things we normally do is we want to set the schedule for the next tech meeting. And did we decide this at the last meeting?
The next TAC meeting is just scheduled for the normal date of October the 11th.
Okay, did we already have a chance to review with Member Catal whether he's?
He's going to be gone for the rest of this month, he said, but October it seems that he will be back in time.
And then,
I'm here October 11th, but I'm leaving on a 10-day trip the next day.
which means you might pick up earlier.
Oh, I'll be here, but,
Good to know, okay. And then Carl, does that work for you?
I think so. Let me check. Yes,
Okay.
that's the 11th.
Yeah.
sure it's on the calendar here.
Okay, so we'll stick with that. And then the other item is we have a commission meeting next Thursday. So did we decide if either of you would be able to make it to that?
I think I'm on the hook for that.
You're on the hook for that, okay. Okay, and then,
Next Thursday.
yeah,
Make sure I get it right. So that's the 20th, right?
Correct.
Here we go. What room is that, Chris?
it's, I'm sorry?
It will be 416
Oh, 416.
across the hall.
416.
Just waiting for Jim here.
Oh, sorry. Got it.
Okay, so then, okay, so also on the administration side, from the last meeting, we had decided to prepare a statement regarding project ownership for the commission, and I haven't completed that task of mine, but I'm going to try to finish that either tonight or tomorrow, and then Tony, you're going to review that. And so we'll be able
This
to.
is for the demonstration software.
No, this is for, we kind of,
Oh, we discussed the definition of the product order.
yeah, and so that's gonna be, so my goal is to have that ready for the next meeting for the commission, for this weekend. And the other thing that we discussed at the last TAC meeting, and we also voted on, was, or maybe it was 2 meetings ago, this idea of creating like a project information page that the civil grand jury had suggested, and we had agreed to post that on our website. So what I did is I kind of prepared an initial draft page, and the only thing that's missing here is not every item has a description, but some do, and I think pretty much all of the documents I could think of are here. But I thought what we could do is just review this, and if anyone sees anything new, we could talk about that, and we could add that. So, and it's more limited to like official reports coming from bodies and departments within San Francisco, as opposed to just random kinds of reports submitted by different people.
So, one thing I was wondering about with this is whether it would make sense to include something about funds that are allocated to the project. And, because now obviously, without funding the project,
Yeah.
it doesn't move forward as much. So for certain funding decisions and events that maybe would help people see.
So, like budget documents and things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'll see what I can dig up. I know there's budget documents from Hoyt and also the, the approved budget. I think it has. And another thing, I guess there are a couple things I thought of that aren't listed here, but there should be a link to our recommendations. And I also thought we could, there's some older documents around like the contract with Dominion that we have, so people have a record of how much that system cost. So I did post the last amendment to the Dominion contract, which is under 2017. But there were,
And is there a new contract, or has it been issued for the
No.
follow-on?
the new one hasn't been issued yet that I know of.
Okay.
So that's, but when that gets finalized, we could add that here too.
And there are these bracketed things that say source link, and that presumably links to a URL that has
Yeah, so in each case, I saved a copy to our TAC website, so that way if the old URL disappears for some reason, we'll still have.
I noticed there wasn't such a link put up there for the March 14th for the Sullivan report.
Yeah, and I think it's because it's not really, I don't think it's posted on the Department of Elections website. So, I mean, it might be a part of an agenda packet for a commission.
Because we have a link to our comments on the Sullivan report,
Yeah.
but people can't see the report itself.
So one thing that's not visible here is the title of the document is actually hyperlinked to the PDF.
Oh, okay.
In addition to
And when you have a text version, that's a PDF to text or something?
That is it's
Like for the June 20, there's a text version and source link.
yeah, that was because, under which one?
Well, June 20, for example.
Oh, yeah, that was because for the commission resolutions, it was to make it easier for people to copy and paste the text.
What's the original one?
The original is posted and is available both as text and PDF.
Oh, I see.
I think both, for the case of the commission resolutions, both versions are posted on the commission's website.
Oh, so you have two links, one for the formatted one, one for the plain one.
Yeah, and that was just because if you try to cut and paste, you get the line numbers on the side.
Yes. Well, also text to speech looks better.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if lots of government documents would be available in text formats.
So I have a question, is like, I don't know how many of these links, do they overlap with our recommendation resources, or like how do we want to deal with duplications, or the one in our recommendations document, or so the ones that we want to reference, as part of the recommendations, so it's fine to have duplicate, or
I think it's fine to have duplicates, but if we want, we could start referencing the project page from the recommendations, but
well, or vice versa, because maybe this has other things, that are relevant.
which, the project page or the recommendations?
The project page might have more links, might have links that are not in the recommendations document.
Yeah, so I think, like, the way I would personally handle it is I think our recommendations document could have a link to the project page.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then in addition, we could include whatever direct links we want.
Yeah.
And then if there's a duplicate, that's fine. Certainly, the recommendations document is going to have a lot more, it's going to have stuff that's not on the project page because we link to outside reports.
Yeah. What sort of defines the project? I mean, like this committee and other related San Francisco activities?
Yeah, I think the civil grand jury just said something vague like on the subject of the project. So, and they listed things like the you know, the Board of Supervisors or the Commission or the Department of Technology, the Secretary of State. So if the Secretary of State were to issue a statement about this, we can do that. It's just sort of, I think the distinction is government versus non-government. So are there any other, and also if you think of anything else, you can, free to shoot me an email. But I'll dig up some budget documents. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, and then our written report has already been delivered to the commission that we, that Member Cattell prepared. It's posted on our website. So is there any other administrative items before we move on?
Do we need to like bless this? Or
No,
you want to do it later?
No, we've already voted to have it posted, but this was more, one of the things we had discussed is the idea of, you know, we could discuss during the meeting if there's anything missing.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of just to give people a chance to see what's here. So this is already live.
Good.
Okay, let's take public comment on this item. Seeing none. Carl, looks like you're still thinking you have.
I was just searching to see if there was any other missing thing that I can't think of anything right now.
Okay.
So,
But if you notice something else.
yeah, then we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Yeah. Or to shoot me.
Yeah.
Okay, next item.
Item 5, member reports. Member reports on committee-related activities not covered by another item on this agenda, including but not limited to the last Elections Commission meeting, Department of Election Progress, research findings, conferences, and news reports.
Okay, so up here, there's there's 4 packet documents, and there are a couple things that I prepared, and then also we had a request at the last meeting to have a chance to talk about the job posting. And the job was already posted, of course, so we weren't able to have a chance to review it in advance, but we can just kind of discuss tonight what was posted. And there is also an email I sent to all of you with a couple links. One was to a new report that came out from the National Academies of Sciences, and the schedule for the observation activities. We had talked about wanting to observe something before the election. And there's an email from Member Cattell with another security-related link. And then there's also a document I prepared that has, it was my attempt to get a copy of LA's source code for their open source voting system. And you can see how they responded to that. So why don't we start out by, what would people like to discuss first? The job posting?
I have at least one comment about it.
Yeah, let's start out by discussing the job posting. What's your comment?
Oh, in the nice to have, highly desirable, it asks for expertise in Microsoft project. That's not the only project management tool in the world. In fact, there's a pretty good open source one that is quite compatible in terms of file formats.
Which software is that?
OpenProj.
Yeah.
But that's a nice to have rather than an absolute requirement.
So there's open source equivalent to PNP.
To Microsoft project.
Oh, well, they said it's project management professional from.
That's a certification.
Oh, I see.
Two items down, it says expertise in Microsoft.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So you know how people put letters after their name? You can take a test and become a PMP.
Oh, okay. Maybe the city uses Microsoft Project.
Yeah. But you can use, anything that'll generate compatible.
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest concern is I'm just worried that if it's asking for too much, like that's kind of the thing that I wonder about.
Well, I think there's a question between asking too much and what they're actually going to hire on. So, I see these job listings all the time.
Yeah.
That ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars. And it doesn't deter anybody from applying. I mean, they're going to get lots of applications from people who are totally unqualified by any reasonable measure. So I'm not particularly worried about that. The good thing is that apart from the Microsoft project, they don't identify, you got to know how to program in this language, or you have to have experience on that operating system. So I thought it was pretty good in that respect.
What do you think about the minimum qualifications? It's on the bottom of the page, the second page.
Yeah, I see it. I think it'll be widely ignored by the applicants. Now, in terms of what the hiring manager is going to do, it's hard to say. But, I mean, if I'm interviewing for this position, interviewing candidates for this position, I'm going to want to hear and see what project, tell me about a project you've managed or more than one project. When I do reference checks, I'm going to want to talk to people who've been around those projects, either as a member of a team or a supervisor. So I'm okay with.
I mean, the minimum seemed to be not that much. I mean, you don't even have to have a degree,
Yeah.
as long as you have some experience.
Well, if you don't have a degree, you need 8 years experience.
Well, I see, I see a degree and 4 or else 8.
Yeah. Yeah, also for some reason I thought the base salary was higher than 163. I thought I was told 180, but apparently this is the highest project manager position city has. So, I mean, one thing that I wonder about too is on the first page in the second paragraph, it says, this is a unique opportunity that requires experience with agile project management practices, open source technologies and architectures, and most importantly, election systems, processes, and data. Like because this is the first time an open source voting system is being developed, with some smaller types of projects, I wonder who in the world has lots of elections experience, but also lots of experience with open source.
But I mean, that's not even the highly desirable. They don't say anything, I didn't see anything about open source in the desirable.
Yeah, it's in the first sentence of the second paragraph.
First sentence or second paragraph?
On page 1 of the job.
It's kind of an introduction.
Oh, okay, no, I was just looking under highly desirable qualifications. It doesn't say experience with, oh wait, here it does, I just missed it.
Yeah, it's a little open source light.
I guess my own personal perspective is that to me, the general project management and open source skills are more important than the particular domain, because it's pretty common for people to move from, you can quickly pick up the details.
It might be worth our niche, either informally or by memo, to Ryan Lynn that in our experience, based on the failing shortcomings, let's say, in Solomon report, that having a solid understanding of open source is really, and experience on an open source project is really a key determinant that without understanding how open source projects work, a person is not likely to be able to carry through an agile process with open source.
Without such experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Do we, yeah?
I mean, personally, I'd see the higher risk is getting someone experienced in like complex data systems. Like that's kind of what was in Slalom. It's like every component was like this massive, online thing that has full stack and, all of that. So rather than a guy that knows how to divide things up into little pieces and do things incrementally, that's more of a difference than open source versus closed source.
You're saying it is?
Well, I think that kind of experience in project management is more significant. How to divide things up and do things incrementally.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of part of it is agile,
Well,
but
part of it is, the person who's the project manager is not going to be the hands-on day-to-day person. The project manager is going to go out and award a contract.
right.
And so it's the criteria that the project manager is going to apply when evaluating the various various bids to do the work. So it may be the case that the project manager may not be a wizard on open source, but he has to hire someone who is.
Yeah, but I can just say, like, if you look at CalVoter, well, CalVoter, it went through like 3 iterations, like, I don't know, $100 million or 200 million, failed.
Over like 10 years, right?
Yeah, and so it's like way over time, way over budget, way too complicated, and just what I've done, my own work for the League of Women Voters, working with the county election data, on like a tiny fraction of that, it's much more complex. So like if the danger is that you hire someone that does something like what CalVoter comes out with, and that's the biggest risk to failure is falling on that model. Now,
And
they didn't apply the agile philosophy.
And what's funny, of course, is that somebody who worked on CalVoter is going to be more qualified for this on paper than, somebody's really going to have to know their stuff in terms of hiring.
Well, also part of CalVoter was the whole they started off with their requirements kind of messed up because it was all about centralization and making a real-time system. And we can't do that, it doesn't work, as opposed to a system that can manage the flow of information from all these disparate systems.
Yeah, but what you look for in a project manager is somebody who can keep a bunch of balls in the air, can keep the different stakeholders happy, and can get the thing moving forward. And that takes a set of skills that aren't particularly technical.
Yeah, I agree that it's more managerial and organizational skill that's important.
Yeah, I think one thing that one of his points is that if this person is evaluating like this deluxe design that looks great on paper, but versus something that's simple and does the job, they might not know. They might be taken in by this.
So it may be that the project manager has to have an advisory committee of sorts that can be part of the evaluation process, and it might be people in the Department of Technology, it might be people from the Department of Elections, it might be you, to help make that choice, because it's an expensive choice.
But I think there's also a difference if you look at like traditional business data processing, there's certain philosophies that people follow. And you look at like modern, web apps, they have a completely different philosophy.
Right.
And
When this person's hired, and there's no reason, I think the expectation is that they would come to our meetings and we could dialogue with them about.
A large percentage of the traditional business processing people are no longer in San Francisco. I mean, they're in small.
yeah.
The B of A people went to North Carolina, and the Schwab is still here. But for the most part, the dominance is the Salesforce.com and people who grew up doing this in the last 20 years.
Yeah. And then was another of your points, were you saying that someone's design sense is not, that's sort of orthogonal to their experience with open source?
Yeah, I think so.
It's true. Okay, well, do you think, did you think we should have some kind of a statement, or what do you think? Or you're going to be presenting at the meeting too?
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but it looks like, I don't know who Ryan Lynn is, but it looks like he's the hiring manager.
Well, I think it's really just a contact person. I think this is probably somebody from the top PT.
Okay.
But they're just
I don't know the soul over there, so,
well,
but yes, I don't think that it has to be formal, but, do you know the right people?
well, no, I think what we do is just like all of our other statements, we would send it to the commission, and then the commission can kind of, elevates it when it's at the meeting. So others, we're just cleaning this over and over and over.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I mean, I think the job posting seems pretty good.
okay.
But I guess the only thing is that when people are interviewing and deciding like who has the relevant experience, I guess one issue that I would have if I were interviewing is trying to decide, are they going to fall into the trap and end up with something like hotel, or, do they understand like how to not fall into that trap?
It might be that the recommendation we would make to BT is that the interview process, the people who interview, BT maybe makes a short list of candidates. Okay? And then when you bring people in for interviews or get down to more details, having people in the interview cycle who have the kind of expertise that this project specifically needs.
Or should we as a committee interview candidates?
Would you like to make that request, or, I mean, there's nothing stopping us.
I think, to me, there's a difference between suggestion and request. Well, we could give them encouragement. We could suggest that they make sure that the candidate does have experience with running an agile project and with open source and so on. Maybe the people who are in DT who are in the interview have that experience. I don't know. I don't know anybody there. And we just want to encourage it. But if they're lacking that experience, then they should involve people who have it.
Okay, well,
So, I mean, I can say something that I'm on the hook for the Department of Elections next week, or for
Yeah.
the Elections Commission.
the thing is, if it's not in writing, I think that there might be, the chances of DT seeing it might not be, hearing about it might not be as high.
Okay. Well, I don't think it has to say very much. I mean, basically, it says, we think that you've done a really good job on writing this job description. We hope we get a bunch of well-qualified candidates for the position. And we're particularly concerned that the interview process makes certain that the chosen candidate have previous experience in managing an agile project and in working with open source projects. Then, we'll be glad to help in that process as needed.
So I think you might not even find you might not find someone who's has open source experience, but open source is more of a policy on publishing things. Partly it's garnering the community.
And we don't know how we're going to run the open source project eventually, because it may be that they run it very much the same way that a proprietary project gets run, but at the end they publish the source code. But it's not a completely transparent day by day, here's last night's build that you can download and try.
Well, that's what we recommended.
We've recommended it, but we can't guarantee that the winning bidder is going to do it that way.
Okay, well, so I liked the language you used. I think my only suggestion would be to, do we want to be a little more specific about like prioritizing these optional or these desirable qualifications?
I think if we find people who have the essential ones, the minimum, I think what we want is
Like personally, I feel like the management and open source technical skills should be prioritized over elections knowledge. I mean, if someone's an expert in election systems
Agreed.
but zero experience in project
I
management.
agree with that.
agreed, but with the observation that, we sat around, and I'm not, when I say we, I mean Carl and Rowan, and you took the complex voting system and said, oh, these are the pieces, right? Because you had an innate understanding of what were the functions that the voting system had to perform and how they could be decomposed into separately implementable components. I couldn't have done that under any circumstances. So what that says is having that knowledge of elections is an added value.
Yeah, that's true.
And I can manage projects, that's not, that's neither here nor there, and I can manage open source, but elections, somebody's gonna have to tell me, how do I break this down? So.
Well, fortunately, there are people that can provide that information.
Exactly, but the same is true in the other direction, which is if you get somebody who's got the elections knowledge, and then, somebody comes in and talks to them about, well, what are the characteristics of an open source project? How do you evaluate that in a bid that you get when you're deciding who to award the job to?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be harder to coach someone on managing a project than it would be to just provide, technical details about the system.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the priority is right. Number one is 7 years or more of verifiable experience as a senior IT project manager. Okay. The second part of that sentence, leading enterprise-wide projects within a large organization, may not be right.
Oh, yeah, large organization maybe is the wrong word, because it could be like Slocum. They'll make the same mistake that Slocum did.
Slower.
Sorry, that's what I meant, Slocum.
Yeah, and because what I think we want is leading agile projects, whether that's in a small organization or a large, but we want to have somebody who knows what agile is, who's read the Agile Manifesto, and has run a Scrum. Not that this project manager is going to run the Scrum team, but is going to be able to do a sanity check on the bids that come in.
Yeah, okay, so, in terms of a statement, would we want to say anything along these lines or not?
So I think that it would be useful for us to say something about modern software development practices or agile or something to that effect. The other thing that is not here is the ability to write requests for proposals and evaluate them, because the project manager isn't going to do the work personally. It's going to presumably put it out for bid.
Yeah, well, so should we prepare a statement that just more along the lines of your original wording where you said we can help, or should we do more and try to?
So you've captured all of what I said. Yeah.
I don't think we want to add to the list because I think it's a little too late to add about RFPs or something.
Right, but we can kind of translate what's written. Right. And knowledge and experience with open source software environments, platforms, and projects. That and project lead on large enterprise projects, those both open wide doors for us to comment upon. So that we can say it's particularly useful that those projects include, and that gives us the modern software development techniques, agile wording that would be useful to add.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna take public comment right now just because we've gotten into this item. Is there any public comment or? Okay. Seeing none. What do you think on this statement?
I like Tony's words, so that in sort of the broader ones that you mentioned, that's the good.
Okay.
So if Don prepares, a transcript of what I've been saying, and sends it to me,
So
I will polish it.
So I have some emotional sensitivities to the term agile because it was used to screw me in prior experience with
Well, that's
people
why-
taking, marketing guys that just throw out that word, or take it in a fundamental sense as
Well,
opposed to
right.
common sense.
Think of the way that Los Angeles took the term open source.
Yeah,
I mean-
exactly. Yeah, but I mean, people do agile. Are religious about the whole thing, and they completely screw things up.
So are you okay with the phrase modern software development methods?
Certainly. And I think that was kind of the same thing as what I was saying is people get into traffic, the traditional big consultancy, big data processing mentality as
It's like
opposed to more
slalom
modern.
schedule.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So does what you said include, the thing that I feel to me is personally most important is saying that specific elections experience is less important than these more general,
I think it's worth mentioning that, or saying that explicitly.
and maybe even giving a reason.
Yeah.
Well, is that obvious?
No, not to everyone. To us it might be, but I mean, to some people it might be obvious that if you're developing a voting system, you've got to have elections experience.
Except that your experience, if you're not a good project, the point of a good manager or a good project manager is they ask the people under them, what needs to be done, and your job is to make sure it's happening. It's not to know everything and make decisions. So the reason election experience is less important is that it's important that
Because
that requirements and
or we can say there's people within San Francisco government that can provide that information already.
Or the outside community as well.
The other place where it's really going to be important is this whole, and it's here, but we can emphasize it, the strong oral and written communication skills and executive presentation experience. Because being a project manager means you got a whole bunch of different stakeholders, and you have to try to maximize the happiness factor, which means that you have to work with a lot of different people.
Well, and also, it's not just open source, it's like open project development, so whatever the project manager does should be an open part, so if he's needing to get, organization, all those project plans and decisions are part of that open development process.
Yeah.
That's what's most important, and that's a way to ensure success, because
I think if we write a memo, I think that it's a good thing to start by praising the effort. I mean, because I think that it's
Well,
really.
you said that in your-
Yeah, I mean, I think that it really has a lot of good content.
Okay, so how about, okay, if you were to prepare, could I review it? before
Sure,
we send? Okay.
absolutely.
And then it'll be kind of like a reverse of what.
Okay,
what we-
so how
Send it to you
long?
tomorrow.
Okay, good, great.
Okay, should we?
so that we need to vote on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta make a motion?
I move that we prepare a statement along the lines of the words that Tony
With our,
presented in this meeting with some analysis.
okay. I second that motion. Further discussion? Seeing none, Secretary Chan?
Chair Giuliani.
Yes?
Giuliani, yes. Member Hay.
Yes.
Hay, yes. Member Wasserman.
Yes.
Wasserman, yes. 3-0. Motion carries.
Okay. So, anything else before we move on to another topic within the same item? Okay, so let's move on to the open source, the LA open source press release and the question. I think this is the first open source code that I know that is not disclosable. It's a very interesting hybrid.
Does the Secretary of State use the word open source?
Yeah, they quote. Well, actually,
I mean, this is an LA press release.
no, but the LA press release in the second paragraph it quotes Secretary of State Padilla as saying, Los Angeles County's VSAT tally system is now California's first certified election system to use open source technology.
So I think you should write Padilla and ask if it's open source and they've certified it, are they going to post the certified software?
So, but see, he said open source technology. And that might mean that they used Eclipse to write the code.
Well, it could be.
But I mean, even independent of Padilla's statement, the press release itself says that it's open source.
Right,
So,
but that's a lie.
Fake news.
Yeah.
Well, it's according to the response from the attorney, who gave like 3 justifications why it's not open source,
yeah,
or why it's not open.
yeah.
So they shouldn't be allowed to use, they should retract and rewrite the press release without using the word open.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also think the reporter that did a story in the Los Angeles Times with the headline that it's open source, I think
You should contact the reporter and give them a reply saying that they can write another follow-up saying it isn't open.
Oh, yeah, because it's a whole, expose, right? It's, the reporter would, no, it's.
Well, I think also, I think that
Yeah.
what we're saying and what a lot of the technical community says is that public scrutiny of software is a means of better security.
Right. And, you know, there's certain collection of qualities that a piece of software has to have to satisfy the open source definition. And this one doesn't by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I can get my friends at the Open Source Initiative to, you know, put something on the website, on their blog, you know, to object to the use, because, I mean, you know, both the Free Software Foundation, the Open Source Initiative are standing behind these open source licenses, and they don't want all this stuff.
Right, but this doesn't have an open source license.
Exactly.
So
which
but
means
that
it
should
is-
be reported.
Which means that it's not open source.
Yeah, I mean, one of my concerns is it's just kind of, it just gives people the wrong idea.
Yeah.
When you're throwing terms around like this that, without being true to the meaning.
So I think what they meant is it's the first publicly owned tally system certified by California.
Yeah, and I think if they wanted, they could have a sentence saying it may be open source in the future, but don't say it's open source today.
Well, also, did we see that the contract says that the vendor can keep it secret for some time period?
Yeah, there were clauses in there for covering the case where it's not made open source. So, it's not a done deal by any means.
And this is the tally system,
Yeah.
which is different than voting stations.
Yeah.
So it seems like tally software is the least sensitive. I mean, you know, if people see flaws in it, it's software that runs on highly controlled machines that are not widely available versus voting equipment that's out in the precinct and maybe you can insert a USB drive and hack it like an ATM or something, but you know, it's so the excuse that a lot of vendors said that this is proprietary technology, we can't publish the source code.
Yeah.
And the response from the attorney is saying it's a security risk.
Quite the opposite.
And then it's trade secrets.
Well, they said the first one, potential security risk, would reveal vulnerabilities of attack.
They're kind of like all the myths about open source.
Well, details could eventually create a security risk. So, you know, what security people say is that when it's closed source, you have an undisclosed security risk. Because, you know, who knows, maybe the Russian government already has the source code.
Yeah, so I don't know how actionable this is, but it's something that at least, you know, it's public now. You know.
So I would say maybe it's worth a follow-up to Adia's office, saying they acknowledge it's been certified as open source. So do they publish what's been certified?
Would you like to email the Secretary of State? I feel like I don't really want to because I feel like,
You're stirring up trouble.
yeah, and I mean, I feel like the Secretary of State's just gonna defer to LA County.
Yeah.
I don't,
Well, I don't know what other follow-up can be done other than,
Yeah.
I don't think there's much to do, honestly.
Well,
unless you want to leak it to the reporter that wrote the article on it.
Well, that's certainly an easy enough thing to do, and there's all kinds of software out there that allow you to totally anonymously, you know, confidentially tell news. Secure Drop is the tool that everybody uses, including the Chronicle, the New York Times, the Washington Post, LA Times. So if you go to their website, you know, It shows you how to do it.
Oh, I mean, this is not
No,
just email them directly.
Yeah, but I mean, if you wanted to keep it totally confidential, this is what you do when you're in Tunisia and you want to overthrow the government.
So anyway, I guess for my comments in the minutes, my general comment is that software subject to public scrutiny is more, has less security risks than closed source.
So, I think
So
one
you-
way to handle this is to make sure that the Free Software Foundation and the Software Conservancy and the OSI are aware of this statement and the fact that the software isn't open source, and they're likely to speak up.
Do you want to let them know?
Sure.
That'd be excellent. I do think, I know OSI, I know Patrick already knows.
Yeah.
So there's a link on our agenda website for this printout here.
Yeah, and John Sullivan is the guy at the Free Software Foundation, and Karen Sandler is the person at the Conservancy. She's an interesting person. She has a pacemaker, and she can't get the source code for it.
There was so actually I'm reading a great book by Bruce Schneier, who's a security expert, called Click Here and Kill Everybody, I think. But it's actually a very, very good book on security. He's saying people have sued to get their heart recording data, and he can't get it.
So
It's owned by the pacemaker company.
Karen is like the world's expert on pacemakers and open source, yes. So we agree on what to tell them. I can draft something after I do this.
Well, I would just say just to do it individually because it doesn't need to be an official.
All right.
Well, and I mean, just the press release is sufficient to show that they're claiming it's open source, and the reply to the letter saying it's closed because it's a security risk is a contradiction, and it's actually contrary to most security experts.
Yeah. Well, it's also, as I said, fake news.
Well, I wouldn't use the word fake.
I wouldn't
because
use it. I mean, now it's
Yeah.
worse. It's been,
Yeah. Okay.
all right, I'll.
Okay, so then at the next meeting,
You want me to copy you on the messages or blind copy?
either it's, whatever you want to do is fine.
Okay.
I mean, I'll trust you.
All right. I'll make sure that Patrick does something.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, so, in terms of the election activities, do we want to go to the LNA testing as a group, or should we just?
Oh, did you want to take public comments on that topic?
Well, I've already taken comment on the item, but
Oh,
I'm happy to
okay.
do it again. I'll just take public comment again.
About what item?
What's that?
About what
we just discussed about the LA.
Or anything on this item.
Yeah, that seems crazy that they are claiming that it's open source and they won't provide the source or even the license. Interested to hear who's actually certifying that and what they consider open source to be, because it doesn't sound like it's what the OSI considers open source to be. Seems
So
like
the Secretary of State has a formal process for certifying, California Secretary of State has a formal process to certify all the election equipment. And if you go to their website, they have a lot of details about that.
so they would be deciding what open source means in this context?
No, they certify whether you're allowed to use the software
Okay,
for voting.
gotcha. Huh. But it seems like they should provide the license at least so that you can see where the rights that they're claiming are coming from.
But I suspect that if there's any license at all, it's a proprietary license.
Sure, but even that
Yeah.
should tell you, what they're claiming or, that sort of thing. And then that's a good document to say, see, this thing clearly is an open source.
And I don't know what part of the certification is public record also.
It's interesting stuff.
I know they post formal announcements of the applications and also the resulting certifications.
Anything else, or?
No?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, yeah, sort of like, even one of the prerequisites of an open source software is that not just that the code be available, but the license, you kind of have to know.
Yeah, I mean, there's an open source definition, and those things are in the list, right?
Okay, so in terms of the election activities, do we as a group want to attend something, or should we just, like, I think what we could do is, there's one day, September 28th, where they're doing the LNA testing on the central scanners.
That's a
in
Friday.
City Hall.
That's a Friday.
It's a Friday? I mean, it's from 8 to 5, so we could go in at any time. Or, and the other option is, for like a couple weeks, they're doing testing of the precinct machines, but that we would have to go to the warehouse, which is kind of by, like downtown, kind of by the Embarcadero.
So when they said they're testing scanners on the 28th, does that imply they have a printed ballot to test?
Yeah, they have like a test deck where they put
Because
it.
that means the ballots will have been finalized and PDFs and so forth are available.
Yeah, I
Because
guess.
I see a big discrepancy, well, in all the county websites, from when they publish data on their website to when they're actually using it.
Well, I don't know, maybe they don't, maybe they're testing it without having the things finalized, I don't know.
But, I mean, you.
I looked today, there's no information on the November election in the data downloads on the website. But I have some of it already.
So would we like to do the more convenient thing of meeting in the city hall on that Friday? Or we have more flexibility, but we would have, in terms of when we could do it, but we'd have to go to this shed by the ferry building.
Is that where the testing is?
For the precinct machines, but for the
Oh, I
central
see.
scanners.
If it's near the fair building, that means Bard or Metro,
It's kind of like behind the ball field, it's in one of the
Oh,
parking
over
lots.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's not too bad to get to on the Metro.
Yeah. It's,
Or
So would we do 2 different days or?
well, we can kind of talk about it now. I think maybe, we could just do one.
It sounds like Rowan's away till October, I think he said.
Oh, right. Oh, so if we want to have Rowan, then we would need to do this shed.
Well, I don't think you can check with him, but I think he might not be back on the 28th.
Yeah, so.
But I mean, it's
what
still,
I-
we could do
Oh.
it, I mean, if the 3 of us want to go.
Oh, okay, so we could do both, you mean one with, we could do both.
Well, or when are they testing the precinct machines?
From October 1st to October 19th.
And it's just this one day where they're
Yeah.
testing scanners?
Yeah.
Oh.
I know Rowan was the one that kind of really was more interested in this, so.
But maybe it's worth doing 2 trips then.
Okay.
Unless, well, I'm not sure what we can, if they're testing the scanners, is it, like our tour where we stand in front of the window and watch them like
It'll
do stuff?
probably be something like that.
So it may not give us any extra information.
Yeah, but it would be worth knowing when, how much you get to see. You could ask questions. But, so I think, and of course you could also go on your own, but for the purposes of us, we would need to like put a notice out and then have it. Should we, like here's one option, maybe the 28th, people could go individually if they want, but we could schedule something for October where we could go as a group.
What are we going to observe in these observable activities?
Well, part of it's to see what you get to observe.
Well, I'm not even sure, like if it's all day on the 28th,
Well,
they'll do a bunch of stuff at
Well, we
certain
could
times,
tell
so we
them.
might not actually.
No, I would tell them we're gonna be here at 2, so make sure you leave some stuff.
You're getting the sound recursive.
Yeah, it's observing, yeah. So, I mean, I know, I mean, this is something that Rowan's been asking about, and so I know he's not here today, but like, what is the informal?
I, for one, am perfectly happy to delegate it to Rowan. I don't need to see it personally, but unless there's something that you think is going to be revealed that changes the game somehow.
And also, this is gonna be the last time they're using these machines too.
Because we saw the new ones.
Yeah, how about you?
Well, I'm sort of more interested in what data they actually have and use, and what constitutes testing, than as opposed to just watching them.
Would you want to go in on your own and just report back?
I don't know. I might not go because it's a long trip.
Okay.
But I'd probably go if we met as a group.
Yeah, because over by the ballpark, you could take the train from
Yeah.
Never.
Or I can even drive and park somewhere.
No,
Or I can drive and take my bike in.
park at Millbrae Park. No, but you do better on the train, because Millbrae and Caltrain. It's a lot closer.
Well, it's just Caltrain's kind of slow.
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
Well, so should I schedule it for like a Friday afternoon? And then
On which,
for the October, yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let's generally do that.
Okay, so
And if you don't want to come,
And you-
I'm not gonna be here on Friday, October 12th or 19th.
okay.
So if you schedule for one of those Fridays, I can.
What about October?
Or October 11th.
That's a
October
Thursday.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
And then the,
Well, it's remote.
then our meeting-
Yeah, well, I'm just saying we're going to.
then our meeting at 9.
Yeah. I mean, if people can do that.
Wait, what did you say?
I'm saying that it's before our meeting on the 11th.
Oh, no, but did you say something after that? Okay, so maybe we could just have the meeting like there at the shed. So,
Oh, well, can we do it in the evening or?
well, but then we'd have to make 2 trips to City Hall, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the
I
observation
mean,
is.
if it's possible to do it, then we could do the observation and then have a regular meeting afterwards.
Yeah, I'll look into that. But you said, which is the only, you wouldn't be able to go during the day on the 11th, you said?
No,
Oh, on the 11th, we can.
On Thursday, I teach until 3.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to get to downtown San Francisco before 4:30.
I see, so you might not be able to do it then.
I can make our 6 o'clock meeting, but before that is kind of.
Okay, well, I'll think about it, and we can decide this later.
And you can email Roman and see when,
Yeah.
what his availability is.
Yeah. And then if it turns out we're not gonna have it, then I'll send an email and just encourage you to go on that. Okay. And then Rowan had a link to a San Mateo page too that you should know. Security.
I was thinking of writing them one to just congratulate them for writing a good article and that with some follow-up questions. I mean, they talk about VPN connections, but it's like you have to log in with a username and password. Well, that's not very secure. So.
Why not?
Well, because people could get a hold of the username and password and you get access. Whereas, so one of the questions I was going to ask if all the laptops have TPM chips and use that. So, I mean, is the VPN secured by cryptographic hardware? Or do they have an external token that can be
Some kind of two-factor
can
authentication.
be held in a safe? Yeah.
Okay.
And then just reading it, they never mentioned anything about digital signatures anywhere, so I'm guessing they don't really make use of that technology. Also, I was surprised they didn't mention verified voter paper trails. You know, they all talk about how the electronics is secure. But I've never seen a county make a nice report like this to say, here's what we're doing to address security issues.
So one of the things I learned when I went to Santa Clara, to San Jose, was that the Santa Clara County Grand Jury did a study this year of accuracy in voting. But I don't know if they've published that report yet. But there's,
Yeah, why don't you tell us about how that went?
oh, how it went. Well, as I said in my mail to Chris, it went. And one of the things I mentioned,
So why don't you?
So
your
the
overview.
background is this, I asked to attend and talk about our activities to the Santa Clara County Commission on Elections, Voting, whatever the precise name is, I don't have it.
Did you go to that, Carl?
No, I was gonna go and then forgot.
So they had this very little crowd of people in a very big auditorium. It looked a little bit silly. But I gave them basically a quick overview of what we were doing, and I didn't mention the website, pointed people to the website, described what was on it, and also mentioned they studied the San Francisco Civil Grand Jury had done. And then I got a few questions. And, you know, one of them is, of course, this classic question of how close to the hardware do you go to be able to verify that your solution is secure and accurate, you know, down below the application code itself. And there's no good answer to that. And the guy who asked the question knew that there was no good answer to that. He was just trying to show how smart he is. So, extra points for him. But there was curiosity about open source and about, you know, what we might do next. And I pointed out that there had been budget allocated and that there was a position that had been posted to do the project manager task. And that was about it. I mean, like half an hour max, maybe.
Did they seem supportive or were they just neutral?
You know, nobody came out and said, oh boy, I really want to do that, or gee, tell me about that job, or something. They didn't seem to be opposed to what we were doing. They were curious. And one of the things I said as part of my pitch is, look, if San Francisco actually creates an open source project, then you guys should consider using it. Right? Because that's the whole point.
Did they all nod their heads after that?
Maybe they were nodding off, I don't know. But I think I managed, I think, to convey what we were doing, where we were, and so forth.
Good. Yeah, thanks for making the trip down there.
Yeah.
Representing.
It's, you know, I hadn't been in downtown San Jose in a long time, and the message I sent to Chris is, this is a really bleak place. I mean, you know, they have the place where the SAP arena or whatever it's called this week, the former HP Pavilion, and you know, that kind of sits over there on the side, and there are these county office buildings. But if you drive in on North 1st Street or come in on
No one's around
87,
or
huh?
no one's around or?
Yeah, I mean, you come in on Dela Cruz Avenue or you come in on First, it just looks like it looks like the Central Phoenix. You know, just a very unappealing place that's.
Oh, you missed the old days when It was like the red light district down Fruit Street, now it's upscale.
That's because of the wind, probably.
Okay, let's see, anything else? I guess Rowan he's speaking at a conference this month, right? Okay, so I think, anything else before we move on? Okay, let's move on to the next item.
Item 6, voting system component development. Discussion and possible action regarding OSVTAC developing and/or facilitating the development of one or more voting system components as a proof of concept.
Okay, I have a couple things to report related to this, and I have not spent time doing any code changes, but I did add this ballot scans that we talked about at the last meeting to the sample data repository, and it turns out there are 180 PDFs and I was hoping maybe Carl, maybe you could kind of take an inventory of what ballot types were listed.
Yeah, I started to look at it and just was kind of more looking at the scan itself, so I didn't take notice. But yeah, that's what I would like to do is try to figure out what ballot types they have.
It seemed to be like a mix, and I looked through everything to make sure there's nothing personally identifying marks or
I think they're normal ballots, so there's no...
But no one like signed their name.
Oh, I see, just in case. I don't know what they do about that.
I think they're not supposed to count it.
What?
I think they're not supposed to count it in that case.
Oh, so they discard it as an invalid ballot?
I'm not 100% sure, but I thought I remember there being a law around that, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
So one thing I noticed, I don't know, that there's like issues with this, how the scanning is configured. So, I don't know, it's a little confusing, but I noticed, like you see like a black bar, you know, a thick rule. So it's not like black and dark gray, you know, pixels. It's like black with interspersed white pixels. So it's like, I don't know if they're like stippling, you know, dithering to try to make a lighter color.
One
But
thing
it's actually a good challenge for OCR because it's got white dots mixed in with black dots.
One thing is these scans, I think they were made specially for us. These aren't like the official ones. So I think they
Well,
just use-
yeah, I think the scanner doesn't actually, it's not really a scanner, it just takes a picture, you know, of the mark areas and makes a decision. So it's not a traditional full scan.
No, I mean those scans.
Yeah, I know, so the ones that you posted were made with a real scanner.
Yeah.
But then, depending on the settings of the scanner, it can do all kinds of different things. And also going to PDF, I don't know if there's some weird stuff with the PDF as well.
One thing that surprises me is, like when I marked the ballot, I mark a thick line, but some of them had this really skinny, it was like a pencil line.
Well, if you look at the instructions, it says make a skinny line.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
Okay, well then I think.
It says don't make a thick line, but I always make a thick line.
Yeah, guilty.
The marker they give you is a thick head to it.
Oh, okay, but the instructions, it's like you take a ball paint pen and make
Oh,
one
yeah.
thing. So they are actually, if you read the instructions at the top of the page, it should look like that.
But it surprises me that doesn't lead to more false positives because it's so skinny.
Because they give you Sharpies, like, in the precincts.
Yeah. Like if you were to make a skinny line and have like a ½ millimeter gap in the line, would it not register? Was there anything else in the?
Under
looking at
scans?
that? Yeah, the scans.
Well, I didn't, because it's a PDF, it's not easy to see what the resolution is, so, you know, I was planning on
like do a PDF to TIFF or something to unpack it, so that so then you can do sort of some traditional image processing on it. But I noticed even the barcodes are like, it's like you can, like if somebody told me what's a fat and skinny one, it's actually quite difficult even to read the barcode because the noise in it with the white and black dots is so high. It would be quite a challenge to recognize, you know,
Can
the,
you show
the
us
bars.
that?
Yeah, actually,
Curious.
maybe my computer rebooted. So, but I can pull it up here.
All of this, as a digression, all of this reminds me of the discussion about zebras. Or zebras, if you like. Are they white with black stripes, or are they black with white stripes?
Aren't they red all over?
Yeah.
Or they could be green with black and white stripes.
So one of I guess on a slightly related matter, well, mostly the last few weeks I've been slammed with work processing election data for 20-some counties, so, and a lot of it's been a mess, so.
Definition files or?
Yeah, like we couldn't get actual data files, so I had to use PDF. But then the writing is so long that the column goes like into the vote for number record. And then what you see, but they write the vote for number with a white background, so it overwrites the text. But then when you do PDF to text, the vote for number is interleaved with the other numbers, like the district numbers. So all the data gets scrambled. It's a nightmare.
So you're pulling up one of those pictures?
Yes.
Okay. Are you gonna have time to download that?
What?
Are you gonna have time to download that, one of those files,
Which files?
PDF scans?
It's downloaded.
Oh, you have it, okay.
So if I just zoom in here.
And it really all boils down to the sensitivity of the scan and the margin of error. As you said, 0.5 millimeter, does that make a difference?
Maybe it depends on the page. Or where was it?
I thought I noticed that some of them seem to be color and others were black and white, but it could be.
You know, I didn't look at all of them. I just looked at one, so maybe they were done with a different scan. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was how to organize the sample data area. Like, should we create a subdirectory for the election date? For example, just like if this is, I mean, I don't know, we could have a separate one just for ballot scans, or we could put all the data, you know, under dated, because we could have a June 2018 directory.
That sounds
and
good.
November.
Yeah.
And then, do we want to have like a San Francisco subdirectory in case we want to mix like other stuff, or?
I would start out, you know, add more layers as you need to. Like if we start getting data from another city, we can create a new directory that.
So should we move the ballot scans under the June subdirectory?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think whatever makes sense to you. So Carl, I have these PDFs on my computer. Do you know what to look for? Like, do you want to,
Well,
or do you have it on your computer right now?
I have it, I'm looking at it right now, I'm trying to find what I saw earlier today. And I'm not seeing it, so maybe you know, they might have scanned things differently.
Okay. Well, it's not so important, but,
Oh, okay, let's see.
do you mean like this, Carl?
Well, like this. See, zoom way in like 800%.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a black rule, but it's filled with white dots.
Okay, so this is what
Which
his.
one is it? 1126.
Page 8.
Oh,
So
page 8, so,
it's like this. See, it has
Yeah.
the black bar, but it's got
Nice.
those white little dots.
Yeah, it's just noise.
well, except that normally noise would be, like if you, so here's the barcode, but this is a grayscale.
Yeah, it's a little.
So this one isn't stippled
It's a
like
little,
that.
it's a little fuzzy on the edges.
But this is normal because the scanner, is gonna
Yeah,
have
sure.
some noise, it's not purely black or
I
purely
have one of these
white.
wand scanners that does things like that.
Yeah, so maybe
But-
they
but
use two different
these-
scan settings for these.
I don't know, they might have done different scan settings on different pages. Which page is that?
Page 8.
Okay, so on page 2, let's see. So page 1 is done that way.
Okay.
And page 2 has, I don't know if it's the same one. They might have, let's see. Anyway, I'll take an inventory of what's there and,
Maybe you can make a little spreadsheet with what files and what ballot type it is and card number and stuff. Right?
yeah. Okay, so let's see. First one. Okay, they're different ballots. But page 2 has different scan settings.
Yeah, maybe you can put that in the spreadsheet. Scan settings.
So, like maybe one was scanned with grayscale and the next one was scanned with
Yeah.
black and white or something, because that's why it's got those black and white pixels.
Yeah.
So, so the other issue I think we mentioned was that, is it possible to get a PDF of the blank ballots, or do they have any leftover blank
Well,
paper ballots?
so after you do your inventory, why don't you send me an email as to what you need, and I'll
Okay.
pass on the request. Because if only certain ballot types are represented, maybe you don't need every.
Yeah, so I can tell you which ballot types.
Okay.
Well, I can see here, this is ballot type 1. But anyway, I'll look through all the pages and just to kind of take an inventory.
Okay. So one question I was able to learn more about is, we had this question of whether, by working on this component, do we need to assign copyright to the city or not? And I talked to the attorney, and he basically said that he thinks the answer is technically yes, but he also thought that no one's going to really ever challenge this. Or so he thought it's sort of like, technically probably need to, but it's not like anyone's ever going to challenge. So
Also open.
yeah, like it's he just doesn't think it's ever going to come up. But like if we wanted to try to pursue like to actually assign a copyright and then make the city like authorize an open source license, we would need to put an ordinance through the board of supervisors.
So if we just keep it as is with our personal committee member copyrights, then unless somebody complains about it, then we can just
Yeah.
keep it as is.
Yeah. I think,
Otherwise, it gets into complicated red tape.
well, I think the only reason, I think the nice thing about an ordinance is it could kind of be like an educational, it could be like a teaching moment where we could show the city like what it means to formally like authorize an open source license. But that would be a lot of work, I think. So it's something
At least
we
at
can
this
still
point,
do.
it doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it's worth it or necessary. If it
For
gets,
somebody on the board who was gung-ho about this and wanted to carry it through,
Yeah.
If we
that's
start-
one thing, but if we had to push
Yeah.
it, that's much harder.
well, and also it depends if people start using it or if we start redistributing it, other people start using it. That's a slightly different case versus now where it's kind of still in
Yeah.
a developmental stage.
Yeah. Yes, public comment. Let's take public comment.
Yeah, I've worked on open source projects that had to go through reassigning of copyrights, and that's a very large pain because you have to go back to every single original author and get them to agree to change their personal copyright to whatever organization or company or whatever is trying to assume the copyright of that thing. Even though it's easier right now, it might be in your interest to set up like a contributor's agreement to assign the copyright to someone here, so that later on, if the city decides that they can't use the software without owning the copyright, or if someone outside of the city who just wants to use this open source software needs to know who owns the copyright of the software, one of you or whoever can delegate that to whoever needs to own the copyright. And there's a lot of like open source stuff already for setting up a CA agreement, so that whenever you can't like merge a pull request without already being without already assigning the copyright through this CA agreement or something like that.
Yeah, the to-do group site has a sample copyright contributor agreement, and there's a story, of course, of a contributor who died and the spouse wouldn't turn over, wouldn't sign the agreement, and so they had to rewrite the code
Yeah.
that person had contributed.
Does a contributor agreement necessitate the city being the ultimate owner?
They're just giving up their rights of ownership to someone else, and then or something else, and then that thing now owns it and can then reassign ownership to anything it wants. Really, at
Yeah,
that
I mean,
point.
for now, it's just maybe 3 committee members, but if we start expanding outside that, then maybe that's the time when we have to.
Yeah. By the way, you don't need to, but if you'd like to identify yourself, you're welcome to.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my name is Ben Burkert. I'm here because I saw that you had an opening on the board or the committee, and it sounded interesting to me, so I'm just here learning about it.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Okay. Yeah, so that's a good point about the CLAs, and in fact, that reminds me, Rowan had said he was going to find a boilerplate CLA that we could use.
Yeah, but I think if you go to the to-do.org site, you'll find it.
Okay.
Or the Apache.org site.
Okay.
The standard Apache contributor agreement is widely, it's widely used.
Yeah. As far as the city, I think the way it would work is the city would become an additional copyright holder rather than, I don't think they would require us to give up ours. But, it's a good point. Like if other people are going to start to use it, we don't want there to be like an ambiguity around. So.
But you have to put a license on it too.
Which we've got. Okay, so I covered the 2 things I wanted to cover. Do you want to say anything more about?
Yeah, just I didn't have too much time to work, but I thought maybe just some discussion on organization. And I think just organizing the top level of sample data by date, election date is good. And then I agree with you that if it's just one county worth, we don't have to create a single subdirectory under it for now. But if, I don't know, for November or something beyond, we had more than one county's worth of test data, then I would say separated by county or election administration or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think
the way we have it organized is good, because we just have a place to put all our data in one spot, and then separate from that, we can make like a subset of that to use as a demo for showing the results reported.
And
And then a separate one just for, as a placeholder for all the software that's separate from the data. I mean, I created a repo before, and I put the software in the sample data repo, but I think it's a good idea to separate it out.
okay, great, great.
And so anyway, I'll do that shortly, since I just finished my other work.
Are you going to focus on the June or November for the sample data?
Well, I have the June, and I also have some of the November, and not all the November's out, but I think the data converters I will do for June should also work then for November once they're available.
Great.
But I'll probably create a June and November subdirectory and start accumulating data in both. So I'll put what I have for November
Okay.
there.
Were you going to also do the census stuff we talked about, or the shape files?
So what did I say I was going to do?
Well, you had thought you just get the official shape files for the districts or
Oh.
places.
So, one of the issues that we wanted to ask the election department is, do they have shape files?
Yeah, why don't you send me the email? You need to know.
But I have shapefile data from the census that is,
But doesn't the elections website already have something available? If you just go to the data section?
I didn't notice it, but maybe. But anyway, so
But yeah, they have GFJS files.
uh,
If you go under data and maps.
let's see.
It's a zip file.
Okay, I think I just.
Okay, well, okay, so this is.
So anyway, that's a follow-up issue is, whatever there is, I can snapshot and maybe also convert to, what's the format called? Something JSON, GIS JSON or
GeoJSON.
GeoJSON or something. Well, anyway, you mentioned it, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, that sounds good. Okay. Okay, anything else on number 6? We've already taken public comment. Okay, let's move on to the next item.
Item 7, committee recommendations. Discussion and possible action regarding committee recommendations on the subjects of requirements, open source, software development processes, software architecture and design, hardware, intellectual property, and testing.
Okay, I don't have anything to add on this item.
I think we already came up with the idea of the recommendations to send.
Yeah.
So, Chris, where did you find the GIS data?
Well, we can talk about this after.
Okay, that's fine.
So anything on number 7 you want to discuss, Carl? Do you want to add anything?
No.
Okay, let's do public comment on this item, on number 7. Okay, next item.
Item 8, topics for future discussion. Discussion and possible action regarding topics for future discussion.
Okay, I think one thing is this, we might actually want to do the CLA thing, so, Tony, did you want to bring the template, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy enough to find, yeah, I'll look for it.
Okay,
There are plenty of
Okay.
contributor, open source contributor agreements is what you can search for online.
okay. Maybe we can nail that down. Yeah, the next meeting. Any other items? I mean, we could have the usual stuff, of course, but, let's take public comment on this. Yes?
This afternoon, this is, I don't think you do any action, but I met with Gavin, so
Oh, wow.
Valley,
Wow.
just 2 minutes. But I said, there was this company that did money for San Francisco for the project, and he knew about the project.
Oh, great. That's great.
But he didn't know that the effort by
When you say- sorry.
Manchu and so on for 8 million did not make it into the budget. And asked me to let him know about that, which I will do. I hope that you really campaign to just kind of, hey, Doc, we would like a commitment to this while you're running for office. So that's all, but that's sort of helpful information for people playing politics.
Great. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. So, anything else before we adjourn? Future? Okay, so the time is now 7:47 p.m. The meeting is adjourned. Have a wonderful